Hello everyone, this is Kodak giving you game 2 in this series between mouz Sports' ThorZain versus July Zerg. Game 2 taking place on Tal'Darim Altar. This is not the BattleNet version of Tal'Darim Altar. The third base has 5 mineral patches and only 1 gas. But there are no destructible rocks, so it does make for an easy third hatchery for a Zerg player. Now, July spawning on the top left-hand side of the map as the red Zerg. Meanwhile, over here on the bottom right-hand side of the map, we have mouz Sports' ThorZain. If you guys didn't watch Game 1, I suggest you watch it. That was perhaps one of the most entertaining games I've seen in a while. I've been seeing a lot more entertaining games, and I'm really enjoying this more and more just because the level of StarCraft play is getting better and better. If you watch those older games, you're like, what were these people thinking? Why didn't they do this? And you're like, well, that wasn't invented yet. The people didn't know to do that. But as people are just experimenting more and more and able to do tech switches, able to execute strategies much more flawlessly, the games are getting better. Now, this is a Terran versus Zerg matchup on Tal'Darim Altar, and I believe most Terran players agree that Tal'Darim Altar is a fairly difficult map, just because they cannot utilize their ranged units nearly as well in the early portion of the defense. The reason why is there is no ramp leading into your main base, so trying to wall off and doesn't really do anything for you, as roaches are able to push and deal damage here. So you can't really tech as much as you want as a Terran player. I believe it's actually one of the most thumbs down map according to David Kim. If you watch the Q&A panel from the Heart of the Swarm, Tal'Darim Altar was one of the most thumbs down map on the ladder pool, even just because Terran players really didn't want to play it. Anyways, an SCV now making its way over here will be scouting out this location first and then quickly find that it is going to be a cross spawn. Meanwhile, we are getting an hatchery extractor pool expansion, so this is something that I don't see very often. This is a much more economic way to play the game. The reason why it generally works for Zerg is that 9 times out of 10, your opponent is going to be, that a Zerg is going to be placing down a fast expansion. So in response, a lot of Terran players go, well, if my opponent's going to do a fast expansion, I'll do a fast expansion too, and we'll keep up. Well, the problem with that is as soon as you consistently also fast expand as well, then July will be able to build a much more or the Zerg player will then be able to go, okay, well, if you're going to do a double fast expansion, I'll do a double fast expansion and tech, or maybe even a triple expand. A lot of the times, Zerg players can easily take this third base or start the third base right around the 6 to 8 minute mark, and then a Zerg player running off of 3 hatches is very, very powerful, especially as this particular hatchery is like a semi-macro hatch slash... it's a macro hatch and also a resource hatch. We are going to get Marines now making their way out, and you can see ThorZain expanding at the 4 minute mark, and he will be double training SCVs trying to saturate his main mineral patch first. The Marines, realizing that there is a very, very far walking distance, does not want to try to engage, as by the time he got there, the Queens would have been able to perhaps connect the creep in between these 2 bases and have 1 spine crawler. Spine crawlers also have a base of 1 or 2 armor, so that base of 2 armor makes it so that those Marines only deal 4 damage in attack, 300 hit points. It's somewhere in the realm of 70, 75 shots before you can really shut down and destroy that spine crawler, and that's before you even add in transfusion and natural regeneration. Marines deciding to finally back off here, and we are going into double Hellion Medevac Banshee play, perhaps. That would be my guess at this stage. No, it is going to be a Hellion drop with Marine support, so that the Marines will be able to fight back against the Zerglings and get healed while... Okay, I can't make a prediction here. The Hellions now just simply making their way out to try to put a bit of pressure. July now opting to go for 1 spine crawler here, also getting a queen as well. There is an Overlord here, so the Overlord on the high ground, able to give a lot of sight, as there are now double creep tumors being laid down as well, trying to increase the macro spread as the queens are now in position to try to intercept and take down those Hellions. You can see 2 Hellions here. Those Hellions perhaps going to clean up that Zergling, but the Zergling does run significantly faster than a Hellion, even off of creep. I believe 10% faster, as 1 Hellion battling it out against a Zergling, and the Hellion now down to 60 hit points. Command center has been lifted off and moved over here into this location, and I'm looking for that medevac. Okay, so we are perhaps going into Banshees, as a lot of Hellions and Marines are being added, and this is going to be perhaps 1 base Banshee play, as another evolution chamber coming online, making it even more difficult for those Hellions to turn that corner and walk up that ramp. The Marine should be able to elevator drop up to that high ground rather easily, and those Hellions are going to be able to put down some cover fire, as those Hellions just offering a lot of support back and forth. You can see the Marines are there trying to fight back. The Marines doing a good job just completely avoiding all of those units there, as the Hellions go sides going back and forth. The Spine Crawler is finally done. Zergling's now trying to swarm in as well. Units providing cover fire back and forth, and this medevac down to 6 hit points. It finally gets taken down, and a queen down to 3 hit points, able to stay alive, and 2 queens are in the red and orange. A transfusion saves one of them, as the Hellions and Marines are now pushing their way forward. ThorZain in a very, very nice position here. Hellions getting a lot of damage. Zergling's now trying to push in even further. The Queen getting some more damage. This Queen may get taken down, as more Hellions now pushing through the front door. And July in a bit of trouble, losing a lot of workers. 11 workers already destroyed, as the Marines and the Hellions finishing off so many Zerglings. And now, July Zerg sitting at 37 drones compared to 38. Kind of having a bit of a reset, as now a Banshee making its way into play. The Banshee perhaps going to get some damage on more drones, that it does need to get a lot of drone kills before it's going to be able to really be worth its minerals there, or its cost. The Banshee is very, very expensive. Now going toe-to-toe against a Queen. The Queen already down to 66. Who's going to win out on this fight? I believe the Banshee will, and down goes another unit there. So the Banshee has actually redeemed itself in terms of its overall cost, but the Banshee has to be very careful, as it is already low on hit points and now being forced to pull back, especially as Mutalisks join the skies, and a Banshee does not want to stay in the unfriendly skies alongside any Mutalisk. So July pushing out. It looks like no missile turrets are being built at all. There are more Marines being trained, but with no missile turrets here, the Marines do not have stim. No stim nearby at all. It is not on the way. And now in comes the Mutalisk. 5 Mutalisks quickly coming in, getting some damage there, trying to pull back. The Marines are going to be able to put a bit of pressure, as the Mutalisks are able to just fly around and get in a lot of damage. You can see that the Mutalisks are trying to simply fly over here. You can see missile turrets are currently being placed down. 1 SCV down, 2 SCVs down, 3 SCVs down, 4. So both sides now exchanging the worker harass. Can he be able to even up the worker count, as the missile turrets have now been completed? 11 workers killed versus 16, 43 SCVs versus 46 drones. The Mutalisk going to try to fly back over, find the missile turrets, and realize that they cannot stick around at all. 24 damage per round of attack, and the Marines are now underneath. We are getting the level 1 weapons upgrade. Still no stim pack at all. So those Marines are not going to be able to deal that much damage at all. 1 Viking battling out against a Mutalisk, and now with 3 or 5 more Mutalisks coming in to join the fight, July Zerg able to retake and reclaim the skies from that one particular Viking. SCVs now being brought over to try to repair this Banshee. It looks as though ThorZain wants to perhaps establish and take this 3rd base here. We may get a planetary fortress, but a planetary fortress here is not that economical, just because it's still within your high ground. You're able to defend it fairly easily, and there's not a full set of mineral patches, so it's very difficult to... once it upgrades to a planetary fortress, you cannot... you simply just cannot lift it off anymore, and I don't think it's really worth it. But ThorZain opting to go for a planetary fortress, wanting to be able to keep that expansion and keep peace of mind there, as a 1 SCV getting destroyed. Now we are going into double engineering base, as the armory down to 60, or the SCVs have finally gotten picked off here. It looks like the double engineering base taking a fair bit of damage there. And now finally some Marines coming over. The Marine stim pack now finally being started, I believe the Mulus may be able to get off some damage. No missile turrets at all, though. So the Marines are going to be forced to sit here, as perhaps these SCVs should be on auto repair. Level 1 or level 1 armor, and now a level 1 or level 2 weapons upgrade could be completed. A Banshee looking to get some damage onto the Queen. The Queen once again going to lose in a 1-to-1 battle against a Banshee. Down it goes, and now going after some drones. So drones are going to get taken down. This Banshee already up to 10 kills, I believe. Yeah, 10 now. Getting even more and more. It looks like that Banshee's days are going to be numbered, though, as a swarm of Mutalisks, or a flock of Mutalisks now coming in. Down goes the Banshee after 14 kills, 12 drones, and 2 queens. Mutalisks are now once again taking to the skies. 14 Mutalisks in the air. There are enough missile turrets to defend off any of those Mutalisks trying to come in. Level 2 weapons upgrade, level 2 claw upgrades for the ground, and level 2 air attack upgrades as well. As ThorZain continuing to play here, we are getting another command center. SCVs are being trained off of the planetary fortress, so ThorZain doesn't really have to worry about this expansion and being overrun by Zerglings. Banelings he does have to worry about, though, as the Banelings are going to be able to simply suicide their way in. 1 or 2 supply depots would be enough to, I guess, stop the pathing on that, and 1 supply depot is over here, so the Banelings may not be able to run by. But July having another idea and proposition with those Banelings, instead going for a Baneling landmine out front. July Zerg, we saw him in Game 1 on Shakura's Plateau, manually detonating the Banelings 1 at a time to maximize the damage and make sure that he doesn't over-detonate. The Marines now making their way out. Only 2 Marines, not worth even the cost of 1 Baneling, as that would end up revealing that strategy. Mutalisks quickly cleaning up that swarm there, as the units are now going to be trying to push their way out. We are getting a decent-sized army by ThorZain. 3,000 minerals, 1150 gas, and it's all going to come down to execution, as we now see a drop into the main base. ThorZain having 8 Marines trying to push in, and he could go after that key spire. The spire is a very, very expensive and critical building to try to build, and it looks like it will get taken down in just a matter of seconds. Now going after the Mutalisks, but those Marines more than happy enough to take down that spire. A spire is very expensive. 200 minerals, 200 gas, I believe, 400 total resources, compared to the 600 total resources that it costs to build the medevac and fully loaded up once more. Command center now being positioned here at the 3 o'clock location. Another hatchery being here, placed down here at the 7 o'clock location, as a group of Marines. Oh, not getting that much damage in. A nice scanner sweep there. So now ThorZain may be able to move out and get a lot of damage. This is going to be a very interesting proposition now. I believe July Zerg was hoping and counting on being able to use those Banelings very effectively. Mutalisks simply coming in now, going after 1 group of units, and now there are just a few Marines there. Another missile turret gonna get taken down. Down it goes, and now cleaning up the rest of those Marines there. Perhaps gonna start swarming in, getting another missile turret. That missile turret not gonna be repaired fast enough, is it? And no, down to 19 hit points. It is finally destroyed. The Marines able to flock over in that formation. A very nice tight ball. Level 2 weapons upgrade, level 2 armor upgrades nearing completion. 2 missile turrets as well. But ThorZain losing a lot of his mining time, and now I do not think there's actually enough Mutalisks to finish off any of those SCVs. The SCVs needed to be on auto repair as soon as that missile turret was done being repaired. Yeah, as soon as the missile turret was done being repaired, the SCVs all stopped, and then the Mutalisks were just able to just focus some damage onto the SCVs that were training instead. You can see that the Mutalisks are just trying to flock around, get as much damage as possible, and now back off. Drones being transferred over as well. July sitting on the smaller army. He does have significantly more harvesters, as the Mutalisks are just looking to deal as much damage as possible. We are once again going into a greater spire with corruptors. You can see infestors are in play, but one thing I am rather disappointed with is the amount of creep that July Zerg has laid down so far. You can see, a round of Thor is now coming in, getting some damage onto those Mutalisks, taking 1 group of javelin missile launchers, or javelin missiles in the back, taking a lot of splash damage. SCVs once again being transferred over here. ThorZain most likely with a superior economy right now, just because he is mining with 4 mules at a time. Poor Zergling walking straight into the main ball here, as ThorZain sitting on 5550 with 2150, almost having I would guesstimate a 1500 resource army difference at this point. You can see now the siege tanks trying to stay in a very, very compact group. The Zerglings are going to swarm in, take down that supply depot. There is one planetary fortress here. Zerglings are just simply going to surround it. SCVs are trying to repair. They're not going to be successful at all, as the planetary fortress trying to get as many kills as possible. It is going to go down rather quickly. Down it goes. And now those Zerglings are going to back off. In comes over here, though, Broodlords now coming in. And, oh, this is going to be an absolute nightmare for July. July trying to surprise, but losing all of his very expensive Broodlords over on this side of the map. And now in the Mutalisk also just getting destroyed there. Infestors on the ground getting destroyed. And, wow, ThorZain, I believe, going to be able to take this game. Those Broodlords would have dealt a lot more damage, but ThorZain getting a little bit lucky with that timing attack. And it does take a bit of luck sometimes, attacking the right position at the right time, finding those 5 Broodlords. And now you can see also a flock of Overlords just in the air. They're going to get cleaned up. And July needs to really transition into something else. We are getting double Ghost Academy, so we may be getting into perhaps mass nuke, as the Zerglings now trying to come in. Banelings able to split apart just a little bit. Down they go, as these 2 Banelings are now being forced to pull away. It looks like the Marines are coming back over. Want to make sure that those Banelings are not going to burrow anywhere nearby. July Zerg still has a very powerful force of units, and with this one Greater Spire off on this side of the map, we can still have a lot more Corruptors and into Broodlords, but I don't see that happening anytime soon. Siege tanks slowly positioning their way out. Mutalisk finishing off all of those Thors, but now the Marines will be able to come back, offer some support, as those Mutalisks need to finish or figure out what's going to be happening. Another hatchery here at the 1 o'clock location has been cleaned up by a large army of Marines. Marines are upgraded 2-2, and I believe there's not much that July Zerg can really do. He is behind in economy, behind in food, behind in upgrades, and he doesn't have enough to really try to suicide in order to even up the just overall count. You can see 5 Mutalisks trying to finish off the last of those Marines. This one Marine may get taken down, and then we're going to have 4 Mutalisks finishing off the rest of these siege tanks. So ThorZain overexposing himself a little bit here, and these 5 Mutalisks may be able to get off a lot of damage onto those siege tanks. Another siege tank now taken down, and still more and more units getting destroyed. And now ThorZain doesn't have that much either, losing a lot of his attack force. He only is down to 2 siege tanks and 40 Marines, but he does have a lot of units in productions once more. Zerglings now swarming around. There are a group of medevacs here. So those 5 medevacs representing 1,000 resources in food. That's one of the things that you got to remember. Medevacs are very, very expensive, and account for a good portion of ThorZain's army. You can see over there, 500 minerals, 500 gas, and those medevacs are nowhere near any of the Marines where they should be right now. ThorZain still running off of 2 bases, as both players are unable to really macro up. Income, we can see the Terran player, ThorZain, sitting on 71 SCVs compared to 52 drones, as this particular drop going to get cleaned up by Marines and Zerglings. This one hatchery over here having a lot of spine crawlers, and also a queen perhaps needs to spawn more larvae and get back into this game. ThorZain now making its way out. Production, we do not see any nukes being built right now, as ThorZain may be able to perhaps drop a missile in just, or try to push out in just a moment. Those ghosts do deal a lot of damage, and now the Mutalisks may be susceptible to sniper rifle fire, as sniper rifle does, or the sniper round does deal a lot of damage, 45 damage per snipe. There you go. There's 1, there's 2, and now those ghosts still trying to go after those Mutalisks still flying around, and we're going to get a little bit more. Yeah, snipe. So much snipe, dealing so much damage. And yeah, the ghosts were taken down, but the damage trade very, very significant there, as the Marines will not be able to push through, but the siege tanks are going to be able to push out in just a moment. Mutalisk now going after the key units there. The sniper rifle round of the Mouse Sports' ThorZain's Ghost unable to find its target, as we can now see the Marines are now coming in. Siege tanks are back over here. The Ghosts may be able to get off a lot of damage there, and now able to take that down as well. You can see that the Ghosts are pushing their way through. The sniper round not going to be able to deal that much damage. It looks like just focusing down the Queen, not even using the sniper rounds, and now finally taking down that spine crawler here. Marines finishing off this hatchery. July now trying to finish off some of those, more of those units, and now we have a cloak. Oh, nicely done. And there's the GG. And now July Zerg losing game 2 in what I now know to be a best of 3 matchup. Stay tuned for game 3 between Mouse Sports' ThorZain and July, and I believe it will take place on Crossfire.